In Mate 3051 and also in Mate 3060, we will be utilizing the Launch, Explore, Discuss lesson framework. This framework is a student-centered framework, which contrasts with the teacher-centered framework that you probably experienced as a child. As a child, it's most likely that a teacher would show you the steps for solving a problem. Then you would do it with her or him, and then finally would practice it on your own. That's the I do, we do, you do. This is actually the reverse of I do, we do, you do. In a Launch, Explore, Discuss lesson, instead of serving as the bearer of knowledge, the teacher serves as the facilitator with a goal in mind. So what that means is instead of you telling kids how to solve a problem, you'll actually be just supporting them in reaching the lesson goal through the task that you choose, the rich mathematical task, the questions that you pose to students individually to meet their individual goals, and then also the questions that you pose to the whole group to meet the goals of the lesson. As I said earlier, this is the reverse of I do, we do, you do, because in the first part of the lesson, the launch, the students, and the launch of the explore, the students actually do the work first, okay? And this gives them an opportunity to use their own reasoning skills and build upon what they already know. Then in the discuss, the students share their strategies and the teacher poses questions to guide the discussion to clarify the math. This is also where the teacher brings out the learning goals and helps students make connections among strategies. So let's break down each of these three parts of the Launch, Explore, Discuss lesson framework. You might also hear this called before, during, and after. So in the launch, the goal of the student is we want them to make sense of the problem, okay? The teacher chooses an appropriate task for students while considering their needs, the learning trajectories, and grade level standards. The teacher helps to set the stage for the problem context. They set the stage for the mathematical situation and introduce the word problem or task. Then they support students in understanding the problem without doing the math for them, and they make sure all students have access and can participate. So basically in the launch, your job is to just help kids make sense of that word problem and get ready to solve. Next, in the explore, students work independently or in pairs or small groups to complete the task. And your job as a teacher is to observe students as they solve the problems. You're also going to be asking questions to elicit their thinking as needed. You've actually been working on this in the last couple of weeks. You ask questions when, if they need help getting started. You pose questions to support them if their answer is incorrect or correct or incomplete. And you also pose questions to extend their thinking and help them listen to one another. Also during the explore, while kids are actually exploring the word problem they're working on, you're going to choose and sequence which kids are going to share their problem-solving strategies in the discuss. Now you're going to want to sequence those students who share in a way that moves you towards the goal of the lesson. So it's not just mathematical show and tell. You're actually selecting children in an order that's going to bring you towards your lesson goal. Finally, in the discuss, that's where you discuss the problem, right? So students share their problem-solving strategies in that order that teachers choose to call on them. And by the way, not every child is going to share in the discuss every day. In fact, you're probably only going to select 3 or 4 students to share their ideas. Students are also going to pose questions to one another to make sense of the strategies that are shared, okay? The teacher is going to call on students in their predetermined order and pose questions to keep kids engaged in conversation and move them towards meeting the learning goal. The teacher is also going to provide direct instruction if needed, okay? So what this means is perhaps in the lesson you wanted a particular strategy to come out, or maybe you wanted to share with students how to record. For example, they might have been using a counting on strategy and you'd like them to see that on a number line. So this is where you might say, you might represent your thinking on a number line like this, okay? So that's where if there's any direct instruction, it comes in the discuss, and it basically just bridges them to extend their thinking a little bit more about what they're, about the lesson goal, okay? Ideally, the discuss should be student-led, but that takes a while for kids to take ownership of that conversation. So it's often that it's teacher-led, and then eventually it becomes student-led. So if we're looking at how this all fits together, so we have the Launch, Explore, Discuss like lesson, you might say. But many teachers choose to start with a daily number routine. And those are those routines that are designed to help build fluency in number sense. So you might start with a 10-minute daily number routine. And then you might do a Launch, Explore, Discuss with a particular task that leads to one of the grade level goals for your students. And then after the Launch, Explore, Discuss, you might move into an extension activity. And those extension activities might be things like a small group lesson, it might be a math game or math stations for further practice. So that's what kind of the whole thing is starting to look like now.